Hi there everybody, and welcome to another video. On today's video I have a bit of a tip in case somebody comes across the same problem as I did with my Volvo XC70 here. The bastard decided not to start but to be fair, it's covered 200,000 miles, so I can't be too mean to it. So nevertheless, the reason I wanted to give you guys a tip is because although the car, well, I kind of discovered why the car wasn't starting eventually after removing the airbox and trying to find if there was any faults with everything, really, anything that could go wrong in this sense of, well, in this is a diesel car. This is the D5 and it doesn't have an electrical, obviously it doesn't have spark plugs. So the only thing that could go wrong with this particular model or car is that the fuel supply is somehow being corrupted. So I was thinking that the fuel pump gave up, and as a result I was thinking I will need to replace that. So I checked the fuse before as well. But having said that, I had actually the pump was actually pumping. I could actually hear the pump pumping. Yeah, so as I was saying, when I got the ignition on, I could actually hear the pump going. But when you look at the feed in the engine, I will show you the pipe, there was no fuel coming out. But the reason I started then suspecting that maybe I have a dodgy pump, it's because I actually believe there was fuel in the tank, and I'm gonna show you how much this was showing me to be. Okay, so the fuel tank is telling me there is a quarter tank of diesel, and I discover that there wasn't any diesel at all in the tank. And well, how did I discover that? Is because I was reading some forums, and somebody said, make sure you check, make sure you have fuel in the car, because if it's showing a quarter or below, it may not actually have any fuel. So that particular comment I looked at, first I was a bit skeptical to believe, but then because the pump was actually pumping, I thought, okay, give it a try, put some fuel in it. I did, and then guess what? There was a lot of fuel coming out of the feed, the hose that feeds the fuel into the high pressure pump. So let me show you where that is. If you're sort of diagnosing something like this, don't believe the fuel gauge, especially if you have higher mileage. Perhaps that gauge is just gone potty and it needs replacing. The problem with it is that apparently it's a pain in the neck to get to that, replace the fuel pump or the fuel gauge, because you need to remove the tank from underneath, and it looks like the entire suspension has to come out. So that would be a nightmare in itself. So I can live with a dodgy fuel gauge, but if a fuel pump is needed one day, I don't think I would bother with a 200,000 mile car now. Nevertheless, during my first investigation, what I did is I sprayed a little bit of to rule out any other issues other than fuel. I actually sprayed some Easy Start, and the car was actually starting. So from that point I knew there was no other issue as such, but a fuel supply situation. So let me show you the hose that feeds fuel that you could check as well if you had a similar problem. And I'm actually going to put a little bit more fuel because I haven't been able to start the car, and the reason for that is because obviously me trying to start the car so many times previously, the whole system is full of air now, and have to try and bleed it, but it's gonna kill my battery, so I have another battery and just a headache. Anyway, obviously the air filter box is sitting here and sort of blocking this section a little bit, but if you remove that air box, I think it came with this pipe here, this hose here, so I remove that hose, that clip, and then remove this hose. That hose feeds fuel into this high pressure pump, and from here it goes into the injectors. It gets fed to the injectors. So if you did have fuel pressure here, if you had fuel coming out here, then your next problem might be with one of these sensors here, these pressure sensors, or the problem could be with the actual pump itself if you had a non-starter. But in this video I'm just covering the tip that makes sure you have fuel, even if your tank, your gauge is showing you that you have fuel. So right, I'm gonna try and get this car started. Apparently the method to bleed this is to, well, obviously have fuel in the tank and get the ignition on maybe 3 or 4 times, so this gets filled with fuel, and then try to get it started. I may have to encourage it a little bit with some of that and see if I get it going, and if I do get it going, I will then show you that it's actually going and end the video probably at that point. So bear with me for a few seconds and I'm gonna try to get this car going. Okay, it started. It really started a lot easier thanks to that, the easy start. But it actually started, and it has to be pissing with rain. It's always, and now I have a low brake fluid message there. Don't know why. All these messages are suddenly coming up now. But then again, I had to disconnect the battery and do lots of other things. So anyway, it's running actually quite sweet. So I may not scrap it now because I was going to. Also showing that it was telling me that the coolant is a bit low, but it doesn't look too bad. I'm gonna have to check the brake fluid level. I don't know why that would be actually low, but it could be. Well, anyway, I think as far as this video goes, and giving you a tip regarding if you have a non-starter on an XC70 like this, a D5, it could be a V70. I think a lot of Volvos have this engine actually, which is quite brutally reliable, I must admit. So it might be just the case that you need to check that you have fuel. So well, on that note, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hope the video helps, and if you have any questions and I can actually help you and answer, then of course I will do so. Otherwise, we'll see you on the next video, and thank you for watching.